the Herrera deal, how surprised were you at how quickly he went down? Because he really was the top arm on the market, in my opinion.
He's the top acquirable arm on the market. Obviously, Brad Hand is the prize gem, but they're asking an arm and a leg for him, so it's not even realistic for teams. But I'm surprised not how quickly he went, but what he went for.
Absolutely.
The Nationals didn't give up, anything great. It was similar to the Addison Reed deal that the Red Sox had, and the only difference was they gave up kind of two mid-league prospects, and then they gave up their 10th best prospects. The 10th best prospect. So that's the equivalent to the Red Sox giving up their 10th best prospect and then two guys that play in Pawtucket that never play and that don't have a future in the team. Or maybe Double-A or, the spinner is a young kid or something that doesn't have a future. He's blocked at like center field or something. So, the fact that they didn't give up that much shocks me in a few ways. One, that, the Royals wanted to move on quickly because maybe they think that he's going to struggle, which, as a reliever going to the Nationals, that's been their MO. They've been trying to figure out that bullpen for years now. And two, it kind of shows that the market isn't as heavy as people like San Diego want it to be and as the Orioles want it to be with Machado. So I think that the Red Sox can go out and get a solid bat in the lineup or even Brad Hand for not the arm and leg they want. I don't think it's going to happen with Hand, but there are options out there that you can get that will not cost you a Devers or a Groom or even a Jalen Beeks at this point.
Yeah, I mean, some of those are, you could get Shane Green out of Detroit, maybe. I don't see why they're motivated to keep him. Rizal Iglesias on the Reds should be available. Juris Familia of the Mets should possibly be available. You have to think that Zach Britton on the Orioles, or even Brad Brock and Danny O'Day, you would think would be made available as well. And
a good addition.
Yeah, right. So there's a ton of arms, and then the Rockies aren't really out of it yet, but maybe by late July they may decide to sell off some pieces. And I know their bullpen really has been their Achilles heel anyway, but I feel like individually, if you just get one of those guys out into a different team, different mindset, they could still get good results from a Brian Shaw or Jake McGee or Wade Davis.
Got it. Wade Davis with nails. He can say that would be unbelievable.
I did hear one stat that surprised me about him. He has only ever had 30 saves once, or he hasn't at all in his career. And I know he had Tommy John, but I just kind of threw me. But he was the hero for the Royals in 2015, and they had a great bullpen anyway. But he was lights out for them and helped them win a World Series. So
yeah, he's been great up until actually his last couple starts have been his worst starts of the year, and it kind of inflated his numbers a little bit. He had a lost blown save, gave up 4 against Texas, and then 2 starts before that had a blown save against the Reds. So besides those 2 games there, he's been unbelievable this year. He's got 21 saves and his whip's a 1.31, and that's with those bad games in there as well.
Right, yeah, so it'll be interesting. He might be the hardest one to move, though, just based on his contract. I think he's making... Yeah, so they would have to eat some money or just accept a lesser trade package, I would think. And so it's just tough to tell how it would play out for him specifically. But for a lot of those other guys we mentioned, you have to go by what the market was for Herrera, especially if they are just a rental type player. And for Herrera, they got the 10th and 11th prospects out of the Nat system. One was Calvin Gutierrez. He's 23, plays in Double-A right now for the Harrisburg Senators. He's hitting .274 with 5 home runs. And this was as of a few days ago, so those numbers could be higher or maybe a little lower. And then their 11th ranked prospect is in advanced A-ball right now. And then I want to say, didn't they get No, that might have been it actually. If they got a third one, he's in low A. I might be.
Third lower, yeah, that's the guy I was talking about, the lower level guy, because the 11th guy I thought was a little bit lower, but they got the 10th, which is the big gem there. The 11th guy, I don't think they see much going on with him, but either way, if the Red Sox wanted to give up their 8th, 15th, and 25th prospect for Brad Hand or Herrera, I would do it in a heartbeat.
Right. It'd be nice to find out if Thornburg really does exist. That way we can figure out if we really do need to make a move in that area. But if today were July 31st, though, I'd want to bat.
Get me Starlin Castro. Get him out of Miami.
Yeah.
Go give, you could give up bare minimum for him. They would just like to move his contract, honestly. And if we move Nunez in that deal, we can kind of afford him next year. If we move another piece as well, we're not going to re-sign certain players. So, Pomeranz deal's up next year. I don't think we're going to get him back. And even if we do, we won't be making $8.5 million. Nunez is a 4-year player option. That pick kicks in next year if you want to. I'm assuming he would pick it up. So if you move out Nunez and you don't re-sign one of the guys like Pomeranz or, a couple of the bullpen guys here and there, then you could afford Castro next year. And he would really help out the team. He would be a boost on defense, although he's not a stud. He's still better than Nunez. He would bat 280 to 300 for you and is not afraid at the moment at all, playing for the Cubs, playing for the Yankees. He's fine.
Yeah, he's been in the two other biggest markets, basically.
Yeah, and now the smallest market, still producing, so it shows that he's still showing up to work every day. And, his RBI numbers and runs numbers are down because he plays for Miami. They stink.
Yeah. And if money was an issue, JBJ is getting 6.5, so that's definitely a movable piece. Holt would be he'd platoon left, I guess, with JD when JD doesn't DH, I guess is what would happen. But
yeah, and do you think that JBJ makes $6 million next year after arbitration? Probably not. After the year he's had, he probably makes 4 or 5. He probably goes down, honestly.
Does it go down though?
I think it can stay the same. I don't know if it can go down, but you could fight it technically, couldn't you?
You might be able to. Yeah, I think the worst case scenario is it just stays the same. But
yeah, so $6 million again next year doesn't go up at all, even if that is what it is. And Castro is under contract next year for $11 million on the cap, I think. And
is that an option though? I want to say
no. The year after that is his 30-year-old year.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's a $1 million buyout. So we would have him next year on the cap for 10.8. If you move Nunez and you don't re-sign Pomeranz at all, that would be, 10, 11, 12. Quick math, $12.5 million. So you could have Castro and $1.5 million extra.
And I think we're 14 under the second luxury tax threshold. I think we're at 223 overall. So if you can free up another 12, then that's huge. And then, you got to figure next year, Hanley's not that option isn't going to exist. So that's
so it's $22 million extra on the cap right there.
Yeah.
And if you could have Miami eat some money on the contract, even, which I'm sure they wouldn't mind, considering that they're not going to be contending or anything like that. There's a lot of things you could do. I like Castro as just the name. He's 28. He'll be 29 next year, still in his prime.
Right.
Still will bat close to 300. And then, when it comes to, we talked about this last time, Mookie and Bogarts getting, extensions and stuff like that. Hanley off the books next year. 2 years from now, Sandoval's basically off the books. They could tell you $2 million he's owed. That's it. And Porcello is off the books at $21 million, which even if you get him back, I don't think he'll sign for $25 million. Even if he pitches great this year and next year he's decent, he still had 2 awful years in the middle. So do you think he gets $25 million? Probably not. Price, if he opts out, you never know. You'll probably lose Kimbrel, and
True.
Kelly doesn't go past $8 million, so you gain $5 or $6 million off Kimbrel's deal there. Ton of money coming up, and then you'd have Castro for 1 year if you got Castro, say, at $10 million, and then he's gone with a club option. So the money's there. It just comes down to if Bogarts wants $300 million and if Betts wants $500 million, which I doubt both of them want that much money.
Right. Another guy, this is a long shot, and, it might pan out, it might not. But Brad Ziegler is in the Miami bullpen. I don't know if we should think about maybe taking a flyer on him. He is not having a good year, though. So,
you want to take another flyer on him?
I mean, if they'll eat most of the deal, and I mean, I can't imagine they're really going to demand a whole lot for him. So
he would have to be a win. Like if we got Castro and they threw him in, they'd have to eat all the contract. He makes $9 million this year. You know,
right.
he'd probably be
half of which is already done with. So
yeah, exactly. So yeah, his average salary is $8 million, so it's $8 million on the cap. But
yeah,
it would be the throw-in of the deal. You know, if we gave up, you know, be like, hey, throw him in there, and I'm sure they would like to get rid of him in the roster spot and you know whatever. But you know, that'd be an interesting one. I think at that point
you'd want to do it quick though, because you still, if it doesn't work, then you have to readdress the fact that we need a reliever.
Yeah, so. Exactly. I mean, I wouldn't want to take a flyer on Ziegler. Just like if they asked, you know, hey, give us an extra prospect, we'll give you Ziegler. No thanks. I'd rather use that extra prospect than trying to go get a bat somewhere, or another pitcher somewhere else. So
I think really all the Red Sox would have to do is probably just agree to pay simply $1 million of his remaining $4.5. That should get it done alone, because he's going to come over with Castro anyway. So
yeah, it would get it. I just don't know if I'd want him on the team, but I mean, because I don't think the bullpen's as bad as people say it is. It's actually been really good, especially in the American League. So. Castro would be great. If we have to take Ziegler, I'll take him. Like if they're like, hey, take Ziegler, and you know Castro doesn't go without Ziegler or another guy, you got to take him. Fine, take him. You could always just sit him and you know not even play him in the roster in the playoffs. So it's whatever. Castro's my guy though that I would want on the team right now for the Sox. I think it makes sense all around. It got some pop too.
Yeah, and I honestly don't think Pedroia is coming back, but
I don't want him back. I would. Yeah. I'm on the FA Pedroia train. I was on that at the end of last year. The way he handled himself in the playoff series, the way he handled himself in the locker room a little bit, and just the fact that he can't stay healthy. When he's healthy, he bats 300, but he's not going to be healthy probably ever again. 100%.
Exactly. All right. Well, just talk about Machado real quick, and then we'll wrap. I kind of think he's going to be a Yankee, but Ken Rosenthal thinks maybe the Dodgers. And here's the thing. He's not the only third baseman available that can do some damage. Mike Moustakas could be had. He's having a pretty decent year. As of a day or two ago, he had 13 home runs, 47 RBIs. Pretty good. I mean, that's going to be serviceable to a lot of teams. And then you have that, I'm going to botch his first name because I don't even have it in front of me, but that Yangervis Solarte out of Toronto.
Yeah. From Toronto, yep.
Yeah, he's having a breakout year. He's already at like 15 home runs, 41 RBIs. He's not a rental, though. He's got a couple years, cheap option years to come after this year. But he's still a guy that you got to figure isn't going to cost a whole lot, and where he's having somewhat of a breakout year, and Toronto's not really going to compete the next couple of years. You have to believe, though, they'll be willing to sell high on him right now while he's performing. So
yeah, Josh Donaldson as well is still a.
He's on the DL, but he should certainly be an option if he comes back, and I think that's only days away at this point.
And it could be even a cheaper option at that point because say he's out until the All-Star game. You know, you say, all right, well, this guy's coming back. You know, I'm not going to give you my best prospect for him. He's 32, coming off an injury, having a down year anyway. But, you know, they should move on from Donaldson for sure. They'd be stupid not to, just like Machado. I think Machado to the White Sox, Machado to the Dodgers makes all the sense in the world. They need a shortstop with Seager getting Tommy John. They could use him as a pure rental. They don't need to re-sign him next year. And, you know, they're back. They're contending. They're like 2 or 3 games out of their division now with Arizona. And they're, you know, I think a game out of the wild card or something like that, or 2. So they're right there. And if they're in the playoffs when they get Kershaw back, you never know. But I think he ends up at the Yankees for an American League team if they don't get a pitcher. If they get a pitcher, either Hamels or DeGrom or Syndergaard, they're not going to get him. They won't have the prospect